The first rapper has claimed 700 weeks on the Billboard 200. Two artists get their first #1 albums on their respective charts. Hey, welcome to What's Trending Now. The CMAs also released their 2024 nominations, and it's been buzzing because one album in particular was left out. But when you really look at the list and when you look at the noms, there's more than just one person and one album that was snubbed. This annual list of nominees is always so familiar. It's like they nominate the same people over and over. So did somebody in particular get snubbed, or were they just not part of the Good Boy, Good Girl Club? I got all this and more as we run down what's trending now with your boy EJ. Let's kick it off with the Billboard. Sabrina Carpenter and Post Malone both get #1 albums. Breaking down Post Malone, he dropped his country album F1 Trillion, and it debuted on top of the Billboard 200. And furthermore, it debuted atop the top country albums chart. This is his first album ever to claim the #1 position on the top country albums chart. Over on the Billboard 200, he is no stranger. This is not uncommon ground for the artist Post Malone. No, he has 6 top 10 charting albums on the Billboard 200, and 3, including this one, have hit #1. Back on the August 31st dated Billboard 200 chart, Post Malone and his album F1 Trillion debuted at #1 with 256,000 equivalent album units. This opening number is the second largest first week sales for any country album from any artist, only trailing behind Beyonce, as Cowboy Carter debuted earlier this year with 407,000 equivalent album units. Streaming accounts for 164,000 of them units. Them units do include the deluxe version, so all 26 tracks are included in that 164,000 units. The album itself sold 80,000 physical copies. This album was available across 4 vinyl variants. So once again, as you can see, it's a trend for all artists to drop multiple variations of their albums. So it's just not any one particular artist. 8. So as Post Malone grabs his first #1 album on the top country albums chart, let's turn our attention to Sabrina Carpenter. She also nailed her first #1 album in 2024, and it's on the Billboard 200 itself. It's not only her first #1 album, it's her first top 10 and top 20 album in her entire career. A big sales week for Sabrina, an amazing, successful debut of her album. She earned 362,000 equivalent album units in her first week. Not only taking the #1 album on the 200, she also takes the #1 spot on the vinyl charts and on the top streaming albums chart. With 362,000 copies sold, she will take 3rd place for the largest opening first week in 2024. Woo, come through. With all the names that we have talked about that have dropped music in 2024, and she nabs the 3rd largest sales week. Hell yeah, that is a successful album. Short and sweet. Did its thing. Of the 362,000 units, 184,000 are pure album sales. This is her largest sales week ever in her career. She will also claim a top 5 largest sales week spot of 2024, landing at #5 with the largest pure sales week of 2024. Her top 5 performances keep rolling in. She also would land the 2nd largest sales week for any vinyl album, with 105,000 vinyl albums sold. The Short and Sweet album was available across 9 vinyl album variants, 5 CD editions, 2 cassettes, and 4 digital download album variants. There was a lot of options for her fans and a lot of options to choose from. So the more you put out, the better your chances are of nailing a high debut. So successful week for Sabrina. Sabrina Carpenter has 6 studio albums and 2 EPs. Short and Sweet is her 7th charting album. Yet it is her first top 10, top 20 album on the 200. Don't give up on your dreams, baby. Just keep going. Because you never know when your breakthrough is going to be. I got to keep telling myself that. Congrats, Sabrina Carpenter, for finally claiming your #1 album. 2024 is the year for music. Travis Scott has been trending. Why? What is going on with Travis Scott? Well, 10 years after the original release, he drops his official version of the mixtape Days Before Rodeo. And it debuted at #2 on the Billboard 200. And it breaks his consecutive #1 charting streak. Flip this back just a few years ago. Travis Scott blocked Nicki Minaj's Queen from hitting the #1 spot. And now Sabrina Carpenter blocks Travis from hitting the #1 spot. Ooh, revenge for the women. But nonetheless, Travis Scott has an amazing debut. He earns 361,000 equivalent album units, just 1,000 shy of Sabrina. Of the 361,000, 331 are pure sales. This is the second largest pure sales album week of 2024, and it is claimed by Travis Scott's mixtape. The 361,000 equivalent album units will land him the 4th place spot for largest opening week, only behind Taylor Swift, Beyonce, and Sabrina Carpenter. This is the largest sales week for a rap album of 2024. So congrats, Travis Scott, for claiming the crown towards the end of the calendar year. We only have a few more months for anyone else to make a major impact. His digital download was 300,000 copies. This is the largest download sales week of 2024. Racking them up. So you already know, in good old Justaboyandhiscamera fashion, we're going to give you a little Billboard history exclusive. It's not that exclusive, it's on the website. But with both Sabrina Carpenter and Travis Scott selling over 360,000 equivalent album units, we see a feat that hasn't been done in over 8 years. The last time 2 albums have sold over 360,000 equivalent album units is back in 2016 when Beyonce's Lemonade debuted and bowed at the #1 position, earning 653,000 equivalent album units. And Prince's The Very Best of Prince earned 391,000 equivalent album units, bowing at the #2 spot. The Very Best of Prince was a re-release, so it was not a new debut. So the last time we had 2 debuts to both earn over 360,000 equivalent album units was 6 months prior to the feat we just talked about. Back in 2015, when Justin Bieber debuted with Purpose, and it earned 649,000 equivalent album units. And One Direction would see their album, Made in the AM, debuted at #2 with 459,000 equivalent album units. The Billboard salutes. Trending around the universe? Well, Eminem. Yes, Eminem is the first rapper to claim 700 weeks on the Billboard 200 with his album, Curtain Call, The Hits. Prior to this moment, only 5 albums have ever crossed the 700-week milestone mark. And now Eminem makes the 6th album to do so, and the first rapper to claim a 700+ week charting album on the Billboard 200. Eminem would take his place next to Bob Marley, Journey, Metallica, Creedence Clearwater Revival, and Pink Floyd. Pink Floyd is leading the pack with 900 plus weeks. It's actually at 990. The album The Dark Side of the Moon is the album with the most charting weeks on the Billboard 200 ever. That's like the equivalent of 17 years, y'all. This album's been charting for 17 years. Whew, that's a lot of years and a lot of weeks. Congrats to Pink Floyd. Let's talk about the CMA nominations. The world is talking about Beyonce being snubbed. Cowboy Carter is nowhere on the nomination ballot. And I'm sorry, I don't believe she was actually snubbed because she said it wasn't a country album. It was a Beyonce album inspired by country. And while I do think could have been potentially some tracks that could have garnished a nomination or two to include the album itself, I do not think it was pushed in the country community enough to actually garnish a nomination. Furthermore, the CMA see the same old people. Miranda Lambert did not get nominated in the Female Entertainment of the Year category, breaking a 17-year nomination spree. Carrie Underwood also loses out on a nomination in that category and stops her 5-year streak of nominations. See, I see the same names almost every single time. So there was plenty of albums that dropped in 2024 and some of 23 that have been snubbed by the CMAs this year, to include some amazing singles that I don't see on the actual ballots. So y'all, congrats to Morgan Wallen, as he does lead the pack with 7 nominations. But funny thing is, only one is for his pure single. He will go on and claim a nomination in the Entertainer of the Year category, but when it comes down to his singles that were nominated, only Man Made a Bar is the only one nominated that actually came from his album. The rest of his nominations are with Post Malone's I Had Some Help. He's also a finalist in the Male Vocalist of the Year category. Overall, Morgan Wallen has 15 nominations at the CMAs. So let's see how he fares out this year. And let's see how he would fare out at the Grammys, as last year he was snubbed due to his little run-in with the law. But that has now since vanished, and we do not speak of it. So let's see if the Grammys will shower him with love, or will they snub Post Malone to snub Morgan Wallen. Post Malone is smiling all the way to the bank. Post Malone earns his first country #1 album. He breaks through the country charts, and now he earns his first 4 nominations at the CMAs. I Had Some Help will be up for 4 awards, and let's see if they will walk away with any. No shock at the overall Entertainer of the Year. Jelly Roll is all up and through Hot 100. So he is a finalist. Lainey Wilson is a finalist, which is the winner from last year. Morgan Wallen, Chris Stapleton, and Luke Combs will also be vying for the title of Entertainer of the Year. Chris Stapleton has been nominated the most times out of any country artist. I believe it's 15, and the boy has never won yet. Can he break this losing spree? Let's hope. His Grammy-winning song, White Horse, will be up for multiple awards of the night. So let's see if the CMAs agree with the Grammys and award White Horse any trophies. You also can't forget about Shaboozey. Shaboozey earns 2 nominations at the CMAs. He finally got his breakthrough on the Cowboy Carter album, being on 2 of Beyonce's tracks. Then he dropped his own album, and it eventually hit the #1 spot on the country albums chart, the Billboard 200, and he claims the #1 song in the country for 9 weeks with a bar song, Tipsy. So big things could be looking up for Shaboozey as he navigates his newly founded place in the country community. And to wrap up this week's What's Trending Now, we will turn back our attention to Sabrina Carpenter. When her album Short and Sweet debuted, it pushed all 12 tracks to the Hot 100, and 3 of them landed inside of the top 5. With 3 songs landing inside of the top 5, and these each being all 3 initial first top 5 entries for Sabrina Carpenter, she joins the Beatles as the only 2 acts to chart 3 initial top 5 charting songs simultaneously on the Hot 100. She is the only solo artist to do this. She is the 2nd act. And then just a short week later, she now becomes just the 2nd act again and the only soloist to do this for multiple weeks, as she earns the 2nd week with 3 singles in the top 5. The Beatles has done this over 5 weeks. She has been killing it with these Billboard historical making moments. And this is just another one for her, and it's the icing on the cake of a successful debuting album week. Thank you for watching What's Trending Now. This is your boy EJ, and this is Justaboyandhiscamera. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe. And sure to subscribe, like, and comment